Hi guys! Welcome to the third and last tutorial of this basic tutorial series. In this one I'm going to show you how I edit the drawing after coloring. And in the tutorials that I did before that, I showed you first of all how I draw human faces, how I stylize them, how I do the outlines, and then I showed you how I choose colors and how I do shadows and lights. You could say that we are finished, but we are not. I mean, at least I am not. You can of course leave it like that, but I like to kind of give it a little bit more like oomph. So yeah, let's jump right in. So first thing you maybe notice is that I do this tutorial with my new iPad, so I had to copy the project and group it already. I have this all locked together, which is really great, but I can still go in and change certain things. So what I do for editing, I duplicate the group. This is really important because this one you're gonna flatten. So this is gonna be one shape, and you cannot really go in and edit certain things. But if you feel like you made a mistake, you can still go back in your layer group and change certain things, duplicate the group again, flatten it again, and then do what you want to do. So yeah, what I don't like about my group is this thing. This is has nothing to do here. This is the first thing I do. Okay, so I take the whole drawing, select all the layers, group them, duplicate the group, and flatten the duplicated group, so I'm safe. And then I just edit the flattened one, and I leave the basic one the same. It's also really nice, so we can later on see the difference. And then what I do, I select the layer of the flattened image, and I go to the adjustments panel right here. And the first thing I do is I go, do you see that? Yeah, okay. The first thing I do is I go to curves. I kind of always do the same with my drawings, so I'm just going to show you what I do. I go, like, these are the different color channels that this drawing has, and when you go to the top button right here, it changes everything. So these are the darker colors, these are the light colors. You turn them down, you lighten the darkers up. What I do is I create another like anchor point right in the middle for all the mid-tones, and I just go down with it. So I really like to add some contrast. Do you see that in Procreate? I think yes. So I can go up, so it's kind of like less contrast, but I can also go down, and I like doing that, just a teeny tiny bit, just like that. So you can really barely see that, but it already makes this the preview. It already makes a little difference. The next thing I like is I like to add some red and some blue to my drawings, and I never really add green. So I go to the red button and do another anchor point right in the middle. You do that by just tapping on it, and then I go up a little bit, so you see how it adds red tones to the whole painting, and here it minimizes the red tones so it looks more greenish, just like that, as you can see. So this is the preview once again. I do the same thing with blue. I go in here again, add an anchor point, and add a little bit of blue. This always depends on the drawing. Sometimes I do more, especially when I have blue clothes on the girl. I like that a lot. But for this one, I'm just going to keep it like nothing. And here you can really see that this is the original one that we drew. It looks very greenish in comparison to this one, and I always like that more. So yeah, so this is the first thing I do in the curves section. The next thing I do is I go to color balance, I go to shadows, and I like blue shadows, so I like to make them a little bit more blue and a little bit more red. I always like to add blue and red, okay? Don't ask me why. I don't know if you can see the difference on the camera. It is just super slightly. It just makes, for example, the hair a little less green, and yeah. And the highlights, most of the time I leave them the same. I sometimes play around with this just to see if I like it or not. But yeah, most of the time, the highlights, I most of the time do it more to the yellow side. But this one, I'm just gonna leave it. And then I go to the hue, saturation, and brightness button, and I add, I up the saturation a bit, and here I do nothing. I just leave it, of course, obviously. And here I also, most of the time I leave it. Sometimes I lighten it up or like darken it down, but most of the time I just leave it. But for this one I really like to be very colorful. Okay, so now you can see a difference with the new layer and the old one. So the colors have more, oops, the colors, can you see that? Yeah, maybe you can. Hopefully you can see that. The colors are more vibrant. They look like more together for some reason. This happens when you do the curves, when you add the red and the blue channels or whatever you want to add. Even if you do it green, it's just how I do it. But when you play with that, you kind of make everything more together. I don't know how to explain that. So this is the difference. I always love that. And then my all-time favorite thing to do is I like to add noise to the whole painting. So I do that here in the adjustments layer, but this is only the drawing itself, so that means the background would stay the same. So what I like to do is I export the image as it is right now as a JPEG, save it, and then import it again as a photo, like this. And now I have this photo with a background, and what I do is I hope that you can see that. I go to the adjustments layer again, go to noise, and then there's this slider right here, and I can add noise to it. I am doubting that you can see that on the camera because it is just like nothing. Maybe I can zoom in so you can see it. Let's try that. Maybe you can see it like a teeny tiny bit, but I don't know, I cannot tell. I only see the mini screen of the camera. But yeah, I'm just gonna explain what I do. I always, like, sometimes it kind of reduces the colors, so I don't do it like too much. I always kind of just add it a little bit. I don't know, it's always different. Maybe here I am at 20% and I think it looks fine already. But with every drawing it's different. Sometimes I add more, sometimes I add less. For example, here, the drawing that I did yesterday, I don't know if you can see that, but this has a lot of noise because there are no colors, and I really like that look of it. And I also just inserted the exported image. So this is what the actual one looks like. This is with noise, this is without noise. So yeah, so this is basically everything I do. So let's see the difference once again. This is the beginning, and now we're here. I personally prefer it. It's, yeah, I think it's, everybody is different. Some people maybe like this one more, I like this one more. And that's it, and then I just export it on my phone or my laptop, and then I am done. That's it already. This was a very short tutorial, but yeah, it's also the quickest step and the last step that I do. If you have questions, again, let me know in the comments below. I do my best to answer all of them, and I see you in the next month. Bye.